Well, good morning, everybody. This is David McLeod coming to you from San Francisco, California. I'm a speaker, coach, and facilitator, and my co-host, Tommy Stoffel, is away this week. He's off on some kind of a personal excitement thing that he's doing. I think he's bicycling all over the world or something. Who knows? Anyway, he's having fun out there, and he's left it to me to run today's show. And I've invited two amazing people to join me today, Tom and Staci Welch-Bartley, who are these amazing coaches on the subject of juicy relationships. And they have a website called leaseonlove.com. So please feel free to go and visit their website and check it out and find out more about what they do. But I just don't want to waste any more time. I want to get right into this because we were having such a great conversation before we started the show. So I'm just going to say welcome, Tom and Staci. Thank you so much for coming by today.
Oh, it's our pleasure, David. Thank you so much for having us. We're so excited to share our favorite topic of fabulous relationships. You know,
Yeah.
I love your word juicy.
Yeah. So what is it about relationships that you enjoy so much that leads you into this whole realm of coaching and facilitating and helping people to do that? What is it about the relationship that's so important to you?
Oh, well, you know, first of all, I mean, relationship is significant for all of us. If you'll remember, you know, we all come from a place of needing deep connection in our lives. It's in our DNA, because remember, as many times as we get burned or it's heartbreaking and we swear it off, we're never going to do that again, we always cycle back and go, okay, yeah, I think I want that now. Okay, I think it's in our blueprint. I think it's in our DNA. And I think specifically for me and Tom, we've talked about this many hours into the night. I was born loving relationships. I'm the youngest of 5 siblings. I've always loved to connect with animals and people, and so my life path has just taken me down a place where I'm always looking for a place to connect. I'm seeking, you know, therapy, and I'm seeking personal growth, and I'm seeking places where I can deeply connect. And so after my personal rounds of challenged relationships, oh my gosh, I call them major detours is what I call them.
Yeah.
I finally got to a place where I knew in my heart of hearts I was really, really ready, kind of something that you had alluded to before we started the show here, David. There comes a point in your life where you kind of go, I'm ready now. I really am ready. And for me, it was going to be extraordinary, or it wasn't going to be at all, because I had finally gotten to a place where I was just good with me. Yeah. And I think that's a key. That's one of the benchmarks we'll talk about when we get into the material. But you finally get to this place where you go, I'm good with me.
Yeah, that's great.
I want to connect with somebody. I think that, but I wanted it to be extraordinary, and so that's how Tom and our story began, actually.
That's great.
It was me demanding an extraordinary, juicy relationship, and I wasn't going to settle for anything less. So there's a lot of tips in there in regards to what it takes to create relationships. I've gone on to be a relationship mediator, and I spend a great deal of my day sometimes helping people lovingly release relationships that no longer serve them. They've grown out of them. And that's another one of our conversations that Tom and I are passionate about creating a new conversation around, is when a relationship comes to the end, you don't just cut it off like it never happened. It had a contribution, and we need to acknowledge the person that made that contribution and take our learning and growth forward and lovingly release the person that's made this extraordinary contribution to our lives. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that at the time, but it is.
So Tom, I wanted to ask you, now you and I were kind of joking a little bit about this before the show started, and about how hard it is for men to get to that place of being available even for a juicy relationship. So can you tell us a little bit about what you did in order to make yourself available for Staci here?
Sure. As I shared with you, David, I lost my biological father when I was very young. I was 13 years old. He died of cancer at 42 years old. So as you can appreciate, that, you know, that's a significant event in any person's life.
Right.
Thankfully, I still have, my mom is still alive, and incredible, all 5'4" of her. So most of my impressionable modeling came from an incredibly sensitive, caring, spiritual, unbelievable woman, a little Mother Teresa kind of a lady. So I was raised in that kind of environment. I mean, certainly I can get along in the high testosterone male environment if I need to, but it's not I'm not really that comfortable there. So it's, as in anything, we become the product of our environment. So I thought that's kind of how it worked, you know. So, you know, detouring slightly, I ended a marriage to my ex-wife, and we have lovingly released each other. We're still good friends. In fact, Staci and I just helped her move, actually, with her new partner. So we are try to demonstrate what we teach, and knew I wasn't sure how I was going to find the next match partner I had, but I was very clear on exactly what I wanted. It leads into this what we're going to talk about today. But juicy relationships for us, David, means you have to be 100%. Think about the word juicy. When you have a juicy food, what does that connotate to you? I mean, it doesn't mean kind of yes, no. It's juicy. I mean, it's good.
It's all there.
It's all there. Yeah, it's fully sensational. So, literally, about the second or third conversation in with Staci, she said, "Look, Tom, I'm not sure where you're at, but if we're going to create something and move forward, it's going to be extraordinary, or we're going to just part as friends." I mean, it was literally that clear.
Great.
Said, wow. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we love clarity. The universe loves clarity. When we say universe, whatever your belief is, the higher principles that we know, such as gravity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, gravity works whether you happen to believe it or not. We assert the same thing for clarity. Clarity equals juicy relationship. You have to be clear first with yourself, as you were sharing, David. And sometimes being single is great. You need to be single and totally in tune with yourself before you could certainly connect with another individual or another human being. You have to be clear with yourself first.
Right. You know, I liked what you said there about, you guys were talking briefly about this idea of coming together and then also kind of diverging. And I think Tommy and I have mentioned that and spoken about that a few times in some of our different conversations. But I really think that's important personally, that every relationship has a purpose. You know, even if it's a relationship that's dysfunctional, it has some kind of purpose for me, so that I can get to know who I really am inside and to express that in a fuller way. I mean, I can get into a relationship with somebody that may start out really, really juicy, let's say, and it can turn very sour if one of us is not ready to move in the same direction that the other one wants to move. So consequently, we reach a point where we realize, oh, we're not growing at the same rate, we're not growing in the same direction. Why don't we just part as friends? And so I really liked what you said about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We call it alignment in our body of work. You know, there needs to be some fundamental alignments in some key areas. And, you know, I wanted to talk a minute about being in the land of maybe, because that's the land of death. That's the land of challenge. That's the land of non-growth. That's the land of stale. That's the land of, you know, it's really death. And so oftentimes in relationships, we get ourselves in, like you said, it starts out really juicy, you know, and we get going along, and all of a sudden, you know, that is Tom said. I love it when he says it. He says, your soulmate's turned into a hailmate, you know, from bliss to piss. And what do I do now, you know? And because of all of this juicy, all of a sudden you're going, oh, I better stay, you know, because I said I really loved them, and I said I'd always be there, and I said I'd always do this and this and this, and you get stuck. And all of a sudden you're living in the land of maybe. Intuitively, you really want to do one thing, and you're having a constant Roman conversation on the other hand. Oh, I better stay because of this, or I said that, or oh, it wouldn't be a good time right now, or oh, you know, and so you're instinctively wanting to do one thing, and you're enrolling yourself in doing another. And that's being in the land of maybe, where that clarity and that alignment is starting to kind of diverge a little bit. And we have a 4-step process that helps you get back to that clarity of having a conversation of, look, this is where I'm at, this is what I know I need, this is what's going on for me, what about you? Let's evaluate where we're at, and does this serve us? Does this serve where we're going? Does it serve what we're creating? And we give you the tools and the understanding to be able to walk you through that process. And that's really the crux of our work, David, is helping people get into relationships, people growing relationships in the middle, and helping people get out in a lovingly released format so that they don't get stuck in the maybe. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's great. And something that I just wanted to say as you were speaking, you know, every relationship is going to have its ups and downs for sure. And I think the real secret here, I can be in relationship and have a down with my partner, and you know, we can work through it. As long as I see that we're lovingly moving towards, you know, connection and growth and moving in the same basic direction, then the downer isn't such a downer after all. It's just another opportunity to, you know, to decide who I am and to move through that. I think where relationships fail is we start to think that, oh, this downer means that the relationship is broken and so I have to leave. I think we got to be really careful about making any kind of a suggestion like that, and remind people that maybe a downer is just another opportunity to recalibrate, as you say, get back in alignment, and then decide what you want to do. But I think I'd like to hear more about this 4-step process. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, no, we use an acronym, David. We use the acronym CAKE, but it's C-A-C-E, not C-A-K-E. So the first C is clarity.
Yeah.
Most important of our 4 steps, we feel. You got to have clarity. Second would be A for agreement. Second C is for commitment, and E is for evaluation. And it's a continual looping through those the steps. Believe me.
We're laughing, David, because we've just kind of gone through a huge hit from the side where this conversation that you have where you're looking at clarity, you're looking at what do I need, how can I support you, okay, can we commit to that, we've decided how we want to get through this, and then we're going to evaluate whether it's working or not. We are in the throes of this right now with a huge opportunity for growth. I have a daughter that has 6 beautiful children, and we've just rescued her from a domestic violent relationship. And I'm currently not even sleeping with my sweet, wonderful partner here. I'm living at her house, taking care of her and her 5 children.
Right.
And oh, you're right,
6.
6.
Lost count.
One's a baby. And so, you know, all of a sudden we get knocked off of our kilter with this huge opportunity here and some very extenuating circumstances. And I'll have to tell you, the first week we're kind of going, oh my God, you know, what's going on here? And I didn't sign up for this. This isn't what I wanted. And you know, Tom could very rightly point across the bow and go, and these aren't even my kids. These are your kids. I didn't want this. This wasn't what we put together, you know.
Right.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for choosing me, you know. And
That's right.
So, yeah, we've gone back to we do it intuitively now because we've done it and taught it and that kind of thing. We literally gathered ourselves at a table, honey. Where are you at? What's going on for you? Where are you emotionally? Okay. The one thing that was identified in regards to what you're saying, David, is it a bump or is it a time to reevaluate, or like the GPS says, recalculating?
Yeah.
There's a connection. There's an intimate connection there that you go back to, and I can't picture my life without Tom, nor would I even want to.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the huge key between it being a bump in the road that you've got to navigate through, or I'm starting to fantasize about being outside of this relationship. I'm starting to fantasize about a life outside of us. I'm starting to fantasize about a new person, about a different place to live, about a different life for myself. And that's a huge distinction when you're going through the clarity process. Where are you at, you know, personally? Are you thinking about relieving the relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Are you starting to fascinate and fantasize about a life outside of where you currently are? And then that's going to take you, that's not addressed, it will take you to a different place.
Right.
If you're going, oh, I really love this person, I'm heartbroken, I'm mad, I'm frustrated, I'm sad, why, you know, Tom's position, shaking a bush, going, why do I even have to deal with this, you know? That's a different conversation. But I love this woman, I want to be with her, and I don't want to picture my life outside of her. I still have these pictures with us in it that we're growing forward.
Right.
So that's the huge distinction between a bump in the road and does the relationship have legs? Does it have some moxie to go a distance?
Right, right.
You know, and I don't think, David, that any of that could be possible, getting back to your, if you didn't have that fundamental understanding and alignment out of the gate. I think sometimes we, as humans, you know, let's face it, it's easy to get in a relationship. Maybe some physical processes take over. Who knows what aligns you or what causes you to get in a relationship with someone. That's easy to do. But perhaps you have maybe negated some of your true knowings of what you have to have for the bumps that are going to come. So if you have that first, so in other words, build your house first on the foundation before you move forward. Otherwise, because let's face it, life is going to come at you. You know,
Yeah.
it will aggressively at times. You know, and at this point of we're about the same age. Staci like to say, the second or third or fourth time around, there's lots of what we call tentacles in your life that you bring to this combination. It could be financial tentacles.
Financials, I like that.
You know, it could be a lot of humans. It could be religious beliefs, whatever. You know, I mean, and those.
We all got some baggage.
We got baggage, man.
Right.
So you got to
You
bring.
better sift through that baggage.
You know, and Staci and I used to say this all the time when we first got, you know, when we would like get the other partner kind of ready maybe for a zinger on the phone. We would say, in the spirit of full disclosure, and then and then, you know, that's, you know, kind of warms the person up a little bit. Okay, what's coming, you know?
I like that. That's great. Well, I really like your acronym about CAKE. And those are things that I found very important myself. Now, I have to say that in the first few relationships in my life, I can't claim to have had a lot of, clarity. I sure as hell, I didn't even know who I really was, and that's partly due to the way I was brought up and some of the beliefs that were well, I was invited to take on, shall I say, and which I accepted. And so I recognize that a big part of my own personal journey has been to reconnect to who I am. Absolutely. and to be able to describe who I am and to say with clarity what it is I want. And that's been a huge journey all by itself. But I can also say that in my most recent relationship that I had, which ended about a little over 2 years ago, it was with an amazing woman. And one of the things we did create very clear agreements for ourselves about what was okay in relationship and what wasn't, and so forth. And that made life so much easier, because then I knew what are the boundaries of this relationship. How can I be in integrity and still be fully who I am? And that was a very, very powerful thing. And as you say, the whole commitment piece, I was able to commit far more easily once I was clear and I knew what the agreements were.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, you can't, unless for people that are single, realize this body of work happened because we were single. So single is a very important part of the process and partnership process. If you hadn't gone through, David, what you just eloquently described, everyone has to do that. And oftentimes we want to usurp that. Isn't that handy? And take whatever time you need to give to yourself. How can you deeply connect with somebody else until you deeply connect with yourself first?
Yeah.
The best definition that we love to use about intimacy is into me you see.
Yeah, that's the same phrase they use at High. And I remember the first time I heard it, I thought, ooh, that feels good. I like that. I want to be seen. I think we all want to be seen. And the problem is, we want to be seen for who we really are, not for who other people think we are.
Yes.
That is.
And so if we really understood this principle when we were getting into relationships, instead of deciding, oh, should I share this, or maybe I ought to hold that one, or you would run to the table and go, okay, this is me. This is everything. This is all I got. There's no clauses, no hidden agenda. This is what I want. I love it. I mean, and do you love me? It's kind of like the dog. They can't be anything other than what they are. I'm ready. All right, can you show up in that space? And if not, then we'd go, okay, that's great. And we'd box it all up, and we'd run to the next person, just like a dog. How about you? I'm ready.
That's a great visual, I got to tell you. Have you incorporated that into your workshops yet?
Yes. I haven't, but I will. I will going forward, because that's the name of the game, and that's what creates the foundation of which we can grow some strength on. Because if you don't have deep intimacy in your relationship, you're not going to be able to weather the bumps. And if, God forbid, you don't disclose it on the front end and you get deeply into the relationship and then you've got to pull it out of the closet, I mean, then the whole thing can go sideways very, very easily. And we don't understand how important that is, I had a client just a couple of days ago say, I've been in a relationship for 9.5 months. He's proposed to me and I haven't told him that I have a gay son yet. Well, you might want to get that one on the table, you might want to throw that one down, God forbid he's, having a difficult time getting his head around that, that could pose a problem. And the thing is my dear mother used to always say, everything comes out in the wash. It doesn't matter whether you disclose it or not. It's going to come up. You're going to have to address it. You're not going to hide it, and for how long? And so we play these little games with ourselves thinking that, I'll get married first, or and then it'll all work out. Well, no, it won't. What happens after you get married? Then what?
I'll reveal all my secrets after we're married. You can't leave me then.
Exactly. That's not the time to be revealing any secrets. You should be fully aware of what you're getting yourself into at that point. And even at that, there's going to be surprises, like the one that Tom and I just mentioned.
Right.
Even in full disclosure, there's going to be opportunities for growth, but it's the deep, intimate connection that you have and the foundation that you've established by being truly authentic and truly into me you see that'll get you through, because that's real. You've got something. It's substantial. It's not some fairy tale that you've built out, and that's why it's so important to be yourself in a relationship. You have to be yourself. Yeah. That's the only way you can truly ever feel loved, and that's the only way that you can ever truly give love. Is when you are yourself.
And experience juice. There's no way, in our opinion, we would assert, there's no way you can experience juice if you're not being authentic to yourself and showing up how you described, David. not trying to diminish it. Don't hide your light under the bushel, man. That thing ought to be like a beacon, I mean, just 100% you. And if it doesn't, and I think it's important, just realize that if it's not with a person, it doesn't make anybody superior or inferior. Everyone loves to get into that. It's as if you were going to the ice cream store and asked for vanilla, and the nice person on the other side of the counter kept giving you chocolate. What part don't you understand? I'm asking for vanilla.
Exactly.
It's just flavors.
Yeah,
nobody is superior. We get into this good, bad. It doesn't matter. It matters. Does it align? That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's a really important distinction, and something that I think we all have to do that. Part of the problem is we all have judgments, and and we forget that most of the time the things that we imagine that we're feeling are actually just stories that we make up in our head, and the corresponding judgments we have about other people as a result of those stories, and we're not even feeling anything. I hear people say, well, I'm feeling abandoned. Well, abandoned isn't a feeling, for God's sake. Abandoned is a whole story you made up about something that you imagine somebody else is doing to create this feeling in you. Own your own stuff. That's what I try to tell people. And so this brings us back to your fourth step, which is all about evaluation.
Oh.
And for me, evaluation doesn't mean I get to go in and say, well, you did this, and you did that, and you did this, and you did that, and you got to change everything so that I'm happy. That's not what evaluation's about. What's evaluation about?
No, very good. It's actually our favorite step, and one that can be we'll kind of get to later, especially after things look like they're kind of moving along nicely. We find in our, we have beta couples that, we're officially starting to get out there now, but we're even finding, where things are going fine. We'll get to the evaluation when one of those, bullets comes at us. No. That was when Stacy and I used to live 600 miles apart from each other. We started that way. We actually never even saw each other in our story for 2 months solid. We discussed every imaginable point in the spirit of full disclosure over the phone before we got in each other's physical space. Not that you have to do that, but boy, it creates some neat things, because the physicality usually takes care of itself. Let's just be honest.
And if it doesn't, it wasn't going to work anyway.
But anyway, back to evaluation. So when we would get together, we would, we really advocate, turn off your cell phones, be totally into each other, and then you'll have what you agree to. Part of our step 3 is your committing. That involves a lease option contract for love and romance. That's not a spin. That really is true. So you bring that out, and you will review what you have each agreed to. And then you talk about, David, like you say, it's not to find fault, it's to review, okay, where we hit the mark, where we didn't hit the mark.
And if not, then why?
And why? Do we want to renew? Is this going to work? Or, I'm just not feeling like this is maybe something. And then that creates the whole agreement, and it's already been agreed to how you can lovingly, you're not going to renew that lease. That lease will not be renewed. Literally. I mean, not to treat a human like a bad entity, but it gives you the framework and the honor
and the support to get out when it's not working.
When it's not working. So really, it's our most important, our favorite, and sometimes probably one that's favorite to also let people get. We'll get to later. We'll get to later. We'll get to later. And don't. That's really a disservice. It really is.
And we have a worksheet in our process that's a self-evaluation, because it's playing on this, like you said, I feel abandoned, or it's your fault. Somebody has to be bad and wrong. No, they don't. Nobody has to be bad and wrong. Exactly. Disappointed, frustrated, heartbroken, I can accept all of those. Abandoned? Yes. Bad and wrong? No. Everybody's just showing up, playing their part. So what did you get out of this? Exactly. And that's what the evaluation process is. And when you're comparing the two of us showing up in this co-creation effort in the lease option contract, well then, okay, what are you doing? How are you showing up? This is how I'm showing up. Is that working for you? Well, maybe not. Well, maybe it is. But it gives you a point of check-in, consistent check-in. What are we creating here? Get conscious about it. That's relationship. Co-creation, consciously saying, I'm putting in this, I'm putting in this. I've even had places where I go, I'm not showing up the way I thought I would on the front end. I said I wanted this. You said you wanted this. And when we get to the evaluation process, I realize I'm not doing my part. So what's going on?
That's right.
Yeah. Where am I afraid? Where is my feelings of abandonment or past relationships coming into play? Am I remembering that back then is not now? Am I being triggered? It gives you an ability to kind of go, God, what's going on for me?
Yeah, there can be some real insight and triggers, that perhaps are bringing up old behavior that you just acknowledge them, and like you said, own them.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, and we all get triggered. I mean, it's just
That's
it's
life.
part of our life, isn't it?
Yes.
And it sets
It
up
happens.
it sets up the framework and the format of the conversation taking place. It's a conversation that we never have. It's a conversation that we don't take the time to ever have as partners, or even in just a relationship with a friend or a family member. We don't ever talk about, wow, this is what I really thought we were going to create, or this is what I was hoping I was going to experience in this relationship, but I'm not. So what's going on?
Right.
This is how I'm feeling. How are you feeling? What can I do to better support you? You know, this is what you can do to better support me. I'm asking for that. I know, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that if we did those things, we could go somewhere different? Yeah, okay, well, let's try. Let's go there now, and then let's come back and go, how are we doing, you know? Are you feeling
your description is reminding me, well, I like the word evaluation. I think evaluation is kind of a well, it doesn't really have any
judgment.
Yeah, it doesn't have any judgment in it. It's just really about evaluating and looking at how things are working. But I think about another term that comes to my mind, which is the word retrospective. And I've been in the engineering world for a lot of years, so I'm used to doing retrospectives. And one of the best retrospective structures I've ever seen actually consists of 5 parts. And it's, what do I want to do more of? What do I want to do less of? What do I want to keep the same? What do I want to start adding, and what do I want to remove? Those are the basic. I mean, you could probably narrow that down to 3 parts. Where if I want to reduce something to 0, I'm essentially removing it. But you get the idea.
Yeah.
It's really looking at what I'm really liking about this relationship. So do I want to create more of that? And what am I not liking so much? Do I want to reduce some of that? How do I want to reduce it? Is it something I need to do for myself? Is it something I need to create a new agreement with my partner? What needs to happen? So it's all really, really powerful, and I can see just creating absolutely fun and juicy relationships just doing that alone.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and there's 2 things that make really juicy relationships. One is the clarity that we've been talking about quite a bit now, okay,
right.
and the true intimacy, the ability to be fully expressed. And the second is new growth. Whenever your relationship is feeling stale, you know, we need to bring in some new growth, and that usually shows up, which is sometimes couples feel is very threatening, in personal growth. You know, because the thing that's so cool about that, growth together and sharing something is awesome, and we really promote our couples to do that. If you're feeling like, you know, relationship is stale and not going anywhere, then go do some first somewhere. I don't care what it is. You can go to a new place for a restaurant. You can go rock climbing if you've never been. You can go rafting. You can go for a bike ride, a hike. Do something the 2 of you have never done before together. Pottery, I don't care. Do something together that the 2 of you have never done. But in addition to that, what are you doing personally to grow yourself? Because we don't realize that energy in the universe is stuff that comes back to bless the couple by saying, I have this really cool thing that I experienced today and I can't wait to share it with you, and oh, I'm so excited. And they get excited because they see you excited. And so it's new juice that comes back into the relationship by just nature of growing yourself, becoming fully expressed and a fully evolved human being. And we don't do that. We think as couples sometimes that's very, very threatening. They start to grow, and then shit, you know, I gotta grow, and then, oh God, you know, things just, so let's just stay home and watch TV. Let's watch another episode of 24, and it'll all be good. We'll pop some popcorn this time.
Yeah, great. So I just wanted to say we're starting to kind of run out of time here. One thing I did want to do, you had mentioned that you had a document that you want to share. I assume it's the 4-step process document. Is that right?
You know what? It's step 1 of our 4-step process of clarity, and I have the little workbook, and not only that, but the worksheet on clarity that I would love to give to any of your listeners today as just our complimentary gift so that they can get started on that road to clarity. So if you want that, and would like to receive that gift from Tom and I, please send us an email at love@leaseonlove.com and just put Juicy Relationships in the subject line, and we will email that document out to you, and you can download it and work with it, and be really, I think it'll, not I think, I know it will get you onto this road of clarity and truly being authentic and showing up not only for yourself but for your partner.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Staci and Tom, for joining me today. I really appreciate it. It's been an awesome conversation. I've had so much fun with you. And folks, I just want to thank you all for joining us this morning and for being with us. Next week, Tommy will be back, and we will be reconnecting and probably talking about his I don't know, whatever trip he did, and whatever learnings he's got, he's going to probably surprise us with something brand new for next week's show. So join us next week for episode 18, and I will see you all on the other side. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.